lost in the whispering woods. The allure of sun-ripened strawberries was too strong to resist. Aisha, basket swinging from her hand, edged past the familiar guava trees bordering the village. She knew Mama Abel warned against venturing too far, but the juiciest strawberries grew only near the whispering woods, and the thought of their sweet, tangy burst on her tongue propelled her forward. She pushed aside a curtain of broad leaves, the air immediately cooler and damp. Deeper into the jungle, the usual bird chatter was replaced by a low hum, a constant vibration that tickled her skin. She spotted a cluster of the coveted berries, their vibrant purple skins glistening like jewels. As she reached for them, she noticed a break in the dense undergrowth, a narrow path almost swallowed by vines. Curiosity, a constant companion, tugged at her. Where did it lead? Leaving the berries momentarily forgotten, she squeezed through the opening. The path wound downwards, the air growing heavy with the scent of damp earth and something else, something ancient and metallic. The trees grew taller, their branches intertwined, blocking out the sun. A shiver ran down her spine. She should go back. Now. She turned to retrace her steps, but the path behind her looked different, unfamiliar. The light was fading fast, painting the jungle floor in shades of grey and black. The humming had intensified, joined by a chorus of rustling leaves and snapping twigs. Something was moving in the shadows. Panic clawed at her throat. She called out for Mama Abel, her voice thin and swallowed by the encroaching darkness. Only the whispering woods answered, their secrets carried on the chilling breeze. Aisha was alone. The guardian of the tomb. Sergeant Omar squinted through the pre-dawn mist, his hand instinctively tightening on his rifle. A lone figure, small and slight, was huddled near the edge of the jungle, close to the forbidden perimeter of the tomb. It was the girl, Aisha. He'd seen her flitting around the village market, always alone, eyes wide with a skittish alertness that tugged at his gut. He lowered his binoculars, a knot forming in his stomach. This was foolish. Dangerously so. The jungle held venomous snakes, scorpions the size of his hand, and worse, the gorilla. Not just any gorilla, but one rumored to be as big as a truck, fiercely protective of its territory which, unfortunately, overlapped with the tomb's outer boundaries. Omar recalled the whispers from the older villagers, stories of hunters found crushed beyond recognition, their bones splintered like kindling. He'd dismissed them as folklore then. Now, seeing Aisha so vulnerable, so close to the tree line, he felt a cold dread creep up his spine. He couldn't leave her. Protocol be damned. Omar unclipped his radio, pausing with his finger hovering over the transmit button. No. Calling it in would mean red tape, delays, and potentially, attracting unwanted attention to the tomb. He had to act fast. He holstered his rifle, drew his machete, and started towards her, moving low and slow, a silent prayer on his lips. He needed to get to her, and get her out, before something found her first. A helping hand. The girl was a trembling knot of limbs, tucked against the unyielding roots of a banyan tree. Omar approached slowly, each footfall measured, mindful not to spook her further. Sunlight fractured through the canopy, dappling her face with shifting patterns of light and shadow. He crouched, placing his rifle on the soft earth a respectful distance away. Aisha, he asked, his voice a low murmur. My name is Omar. Are you hurt? Her eyes, white and luminous, tracked his every move. She didn't speak, only flinched as a monkey chattered overhead. He reached into his pack, pulling out his canteen. Here, he offered, unscrewing the cap. It's just water. You must be thirsty. He held it out, not pushing, letting her decide. After a long moment, she reached, her small hand dwarfed by the metal canteen. She drank deeply, some of the water dribbling down her chin. "Better?" he asked gently. She nodded, her gaze still fixed on him. "I know this jungle, Aisha," Omar continued, his voice calm and steady. "I can take you home. To your village. Will you let me help you?" He pointed in a direction away from the sounds of the angry gorilla, towards the faint scent of wood smoke he'd noticed on the breeze. "It's this way. We'll walk slowly." He waited, his heart a steady drum against his ribs, hoping, praying, she would trust him. Kogo's fury. The earth vibrated, a low thrum that resonated in Aisha's bones. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig became amplified, a prelude to something monstrous. Sergeant Omar stopped short, his hand outstretched towards Aisha. He lowered it slowly, eyes scanning the dense foliage. "Stay behind me," he whispered, his voice tight. Aisha didn't need telling. She clung to his back, burying her face in his uniform, the scent of sweat and earth a strange comfort. The trembling intensified. Then, the jungle exploded. A wall of green shattered as something immense burst forth. Kogo. He was a mountain of muscle and silver fur, his eyes burning with primal fury. A roar ripped from his chest, a sound that drowned out every other noise, a sound that promised pain and death. It vibrated through Omar, through Aisha, through the very ground beneath their feet. Aisha squeezed her eyes shut, whimpering. Omar stood his ground, feet planted wide, his rifle raised but not yet aimed. He knew what a single shot would unleash. He saw the raw intelligence behind the rage in Kogo's eyes, a spark of something more than animalistic fury. He hoped, prayed, it was enough. Unarmed defense. The jungle exploded. A wall of green shattered as Kogo, a mountain of muscle and fury, erupted into the clearing. Aisha screamed, burying her face into Omar's back, her small hands gripping his vest like a lifeline. Omar stood firm, feet planted, eyes locked on the enraged gorilla. Kogo's roar was deafening, a primal challenge that vibrated in Omar's bones. Kogo charged, a blur of dark fur and gnashing teeth. Omar sidestepped the initial lunge, the wind from Kogo's massive arm ruffling his hair. He pulled Aisha tighter against him, pivoting to keep her shielded behind his body. The ground trembled with each earth-shattering step of the ape. "Hold tight, Aisha," he grunted, his voice strained. Another swipe. This time Omar ducked low, feeling the wind shear past his ear. He needed space, a way to create distance. He couldn't fight this beast head-on, not unarmed. Omar scanned the clearing, his mind racing. A fallen branch, a loose rock, anything. His gaze landed on a cluster of bright red heliconia flowers, their thick stalks surprisingly sturdy. It was a long shot, but it was all he had. He needed to buy time, distract Kogo, and somehow, get Aisha to safety. A shiny distraction. Omar stood his ground, the gorilla a wall of muscle and fury before him. "Easy, Kogo," he said, his voice calm despite the tremor in his hands. "We don't want any trouble. We're just passing through." He held his palms up, a gesture of peace he hoped the creature understood. Kogo beat his chest, a deafening thud that reverberated through the humid air. Saliva flew from his snarling lips. Behind Omar, Aisha whimpered, clinging to his leg. He could feel her trembling, each shudder a jolt against his resolve. He risked a glance back, her eyes were wide with terror, but he also saw something else, a glint of recognition as she looked towards the satchel at her hip. Omar focused back on Kogo. The gorilla took another step, closer now. He could smell the musky scent of the beast, the hot breath that reeked of jungle rot. This wasn't going to work. Talking wasn't going to work. Aisha screamed, a piercing shriek that momentarily startled even Kogo. And then, a flash of crimson arced through the air. It was the starfruit she had picked earlier, its skin gleaming like a ruby in the dappled sunlight. It landed with a soft thud a few feet away from Kogo. The gorilla paused, his eyes narrowing, his focus shifting from Oma to the unexpected gift. Raced through the ruins. Oma saw his chance. Kogo, momentarily disoriented from smashing against the jeep, roared in frustration. It was a primal sound, vibrating in Oma's chest, but he couldn't afford to dwell on it. Hold tight, he yelled, scooping Aisha into his arms. Her small body trembled against his. He bolted. Not towards the jeep, not towards any semblance of safety, but towards the gaping maw of the ancient ruins. It was a gamble, a desperate one, but he knew this place. He'd studied the maps, memorized the passages. Maybe, just maybe, he could use the tomb itself as a weapon. Behind them, the jungle erupted again. Kogo, recovering with terrifying speed, thundered after them, tearing through the undergrowth like a living bulldozer. Oma risked a glance back. The gorilla was gaining, its massive arms pumping, its eyes burning with rage. He pushed harder, his lungs burning, his muscles screaming. The crumbling entrance of the tomb loomed ahead, a jagged tear in the earth. The air grew cooler, heavy with the scent of dust and decay. He plunged inside, the darkness swallowing them whole. The crumbling bridge. Oma's breath hitched in the echoing silence. The maze of corridors had narrowed, the air growing thick with the musty scent of decay and something else, something akin to ozone. Aisha trembled against his chest, her small body a fragile weight. Behind them, Kogo's roars resonated, closer now, vibrating through the very stone. He risked a glance back, glimpsing the gorilla's massive silhouette rounding a bend. No time. He surged forward, rounding another corner and halting abruptly. Before them, a chamber opened, and spanning its width was a bridge. Not a bridge of sturdy construction, but one of ancient, cracked stone. Veins of dark moss crawled across its surface, and sections looked ready to crumble. This is it, Omar muttered, more to himself than Aisha. A gamble. A desperate one. Kogo emerged into the chamber, his eyes blazing. He beat his chest, a primal display of fury. Omar stood his ground, gauging the distance, the bridge his only hope. Come on, you overgrown ape, he taunted, his voice tight, take the bait. The gorilla hesitated, sniffing the air, then lumbered onto the bridge. The stone groaned under his weight. A hairline fracture spiderwebbed across the surface. Aisha whimpered. Omar held his breath. Kogo took another step, and with a sound like thunder, a section of the bridge collapsed, sending chunks of rock plummeting into the darkness below. Kogo roared in frustration, clinging precariously to the remaining edge, his knuckles white. Safe return. Kogo roared, a sound that vibrated through the ancient timbers of the rope bridge. Omar pulled Aisha forward, urging her onto the far bank. Just as they reached solid ground, a sickening crack echoed behind them. Kogo, halfway across, flailed as the weakened supports gave way beneath his immense weight. Ropes snapped like twigs, and the bridge, along with the enraged gorilla, plunged into the ravine below. Omar didn't wait to see the outcome. Run, Aisha. He gripped her hand, and they scrambled through the dense undergrowth, the sounds of the jungle swallowing the gorilla's furious bellows. Hours later, scratched and weary, they emerged from the emerald depths. Aisha gasped. Before them lay her village, a cluster of thatched huts nestled amidst vibrant green fields. Villagers spotted them, and a cry went up. Faces filled with relief surged forward. Aisha broke free from Omar's grasp and ran towards an elderly woman with a familiar, comforting face. "Grandmother," she cried, leaping into her arms. Tears streamed down the old woman's weathered cheeks as she clutched Aisha tight. The villagers turned to Omar, their faces filled with gratitude. They had heard whispers of the tomb guard who dared to stand against Kogo. Now, seeing him standing there, dusty and resolute, they erupted in cheers. He was hoisted onto shoulders, paraded through the village, a hero returned. He caught Aisha's eye. She smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile that banished the fear from her face. In that moment, Omar knew he had not only saved a life but had also gained a friend.